Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by WeUni in partnership with UCLA School of Law. My name is Carolina, nice to meet you all, and I'll be your host for today's event on behalf of WeUni. So I see here that the first people are already starting to join in, so we're going to wait just a couple of minutes before starting to allow everyone to connect. In the meantime, feel free to say hi on our chat here on Zoom, and please tell us where you're from since we are very curious. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining us and thank our panelists for being here with us today. As you can see here, I'm not alone. I would like to introduce you all to Nicole. She is the Assistant Director of Graduate Studies. But we also have with us 3 students from UCLA that will provide some really interesting insights from the university. So we have with us Afra. She's from Saudi Arabia, and her specialization is human rights and international and comparative law. We have Ethan from Ireland, and he is a current student in media entertainment, technology, and sports law and policy. And then we have Franz from Germany, and he had studied law. So welcome, it's a pleasure to have you here. Today, you are going to explore the LLM program, so with a spotlight on the extensive section of curricular options and specializations. You're going to learn about the available scholarships and fellowships and the career development opportunities, but also the global alumni network, of course. So as you can see, you will gonna hear directly from the LLM students and graduates as they share their personal journeys, their perspectives on studying in Los Angeles, and also advice on making the most of the program. Of course, you're gonna gain valuable insights into academic life, career prospects, and the unique lifestyle on this vibrant city. You also have the possibility to interact with the speakers and ask them questions. So talking about that, I'd like to remind you that after the presentation, we will have a Q&A session in which you'll be able to ask direct questions to the panelists. So don't be shy and just type all of your questions in the Q&A section here, and we'll go through them at the end of the webinar. Also, for those of you interested in receiving a certificate of attendance by WeUni, stay tuned because we will post a link to get the certificate at the end of this session. Okay, I see some other people joining. Thank you and welcome, of course. I think that without further ado, I can now leave the floor to Nicole for the presentation. So enjoy the webinar and see you later.
Thanks so much, Carolina, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As Carolina mentioned, I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Studies at UCLA School of Law. I'm also an alum of the program, so I graduated in 2019, which now sounds like quite long ago. I don't want to take up too much time with this slide because I really want to spend time talking to our 2 alums and our current student. But I find it's quite helpful just to go over the basics. So as you heard, we have both general and specialized studies, and it's great that we can have perspectives today from our students who pursued specialized studies as well as someone who did the general LLM. But coming into the UCLA LLM, if you choose to do general, you have the most flexible curriculum possible. You have 200 advanced level courses to choose from. Everything that happens at UCLA, all the classes that are offered to JD students are open to LLM students as well, which means you can take part in all the cutting edge different seminar classes, the different experiential courses like clinical classes and simulations, as well as many different doctrinal areas of law. So if you're coming in as a general LLM, you have complete freedom, which can potentially be very appealing or very daunting, depending what kind of person you are. It's also possible to do a specialization. We have 14 different specializations on offer. I have them listed on the screen here because listing them off can be a little bit confusing. So hopefully you can have a look at the specializations we have on offer and see if there's one for you. If there isn't, we also have the option to self-design a specialization. So a popular self-design that we've seen in the past is alternative dispute resolution as an example. But I think you'll find that the existing specializations are quite comprehensive. Um, how it'll work, and we'll talk a little bit more about this amongst the panelists, is any one specialization is going to be 4 different courses, but you're going to need anywhere from 7 to 9 classes to graduate. So it's possible to do 2 different specializations like Afra did, and it's also possible to do one specialization and to take the courses necessary to qualify for a bar exam. So that's something else we can help you with. If you're interested in sitting a United States bar exam, most commonly we do California and New York. We do a couple other states. If there is one that you're interested in, you can drop it in the chat and let me know. But certain states have onerous course requirements, such as New York, and it's good to know that you can take those classes as well as taking a specialization in a field that you're interested in. Something that I'm sure is top of mind for everyone with the cost of higher education in the United States is funding and scholarships. And so I'll run through those briefly. We have our primary funding mechanism for LLM students is the Dean's Tuition Fellowship Award. When you apply to the program, you are automatically considered for that. So it is both a merit and financial need based determination. And when we're making that determination, we're looking at all the documents that you have to submit as part of your application. And those documents include a curriculum vitae or a resume, a personal statement, your university transcripts, as well as 2 references. If you did your legal education in a language other than English, you'll also need a TOEFL or an IELTS score. For TOEFL, we're looking at scores of 90 and above. For IELTS is 7 and above. So that's something to keep in mind. But we're going to look at all of those documents when we're making awards under the Dean's Tuition Fellowship. There's no separate deadline, no extra paperwork. You apply to the program and you get considered for that. That award is generally a partial tuition scholarship, which means a certain amount of your tuition amount will be discounted. The amount varies, so we do try and help as many people as possible join the program, and ultimately about 20 to 30% of our students receive assistance from the Dean's Tuition Fellowship. For those who are interested particularly in the fields of health and human rights or critical race studies, we have 2 full tuition scholarships for those subject areas. So they have a slight addition to the application procedure. There is a form on our website, a supplemental form that you need to download and include with your personal statement if you want to be considered for the Health and Human Rights or the Critical Race Studies Fellowship. And those 2 fellowships are full tuition fellowships. So that's the full tuition amount as well as the mandatory health insurance. Unfortunately, we aren't able to make cash awards, so we don't have any awards for living expenses, no stipends, nothing like that. So that's unfortunate, an unfortunate limitation about the process. But that's a quick overview of the funding scholarships to keep in mind. I hope you've had a look at the different specializations. And also on the screen is my email address in case you'd like to write that down and get in touch if you have more questions after this webinar. And I say that now because I'm going to take the slide down now that I've gone over this information so that we can speak with our panelists. So I'll wait a second, and before I take it down, I'll just mention one thing on here, our interview program and career services. We have a dedicated career service office for LLM students, and in the spring, they run an LLM interview program for California schools at UCLA. So I would be interested to hear if France or Afra took part in that when we get chatting, but just so you know that there is support on campus with regards to your career development, doing things like writing resumes in the United States style, cover letters, interview practice, things like that. Okay, so I hope you've had a chance to take down my email. I will share it again later in case, but for now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see the panelists a bit better. And a quick thank you to Franz, Ethan, and Afra for joining us. Franz and Afra are both alums of the program. It's nice to see your faces again. And Ethan is currently at UCLA. It looks like maybe in the library right now in one of the conference rooms. So it's great to have you here and to share some information about your experience at UCLA. So we'll do a little bit of a round robin, going through the different panelists, starting with France and Ethan and Afra based on your arrangement on my screen. And if you could share what it was when you started thinking about doing an LLM in the US, why you started thinking about that, what was interesting about it, and what was it that was drawing you towards UCLA?
Okay, I think I'll go ahead. Um, what drove me to doing an LLM generally in the United States was I don't know, some kind of thought that I always wanted to live in the United States for some time. I don't know, I had this like, I don't know, romantic thought of the United States probably from movies from my childhood. And I just wanted to experience that. And I did manage to do that. It's like full on in LA. And yeah, why UCLA? So when I looked for schools around the US, I kind of thought in regions, and I didn't want bad weather, to be honest. So I didn't apply to anything further north than San Francisco or further east than LA, to be honest. And so California was pretty obvious for me. And Southern California was my preferred choice. And at the end of the day, UCLA made an attractive offer. And so I chose UCLA. But of course, the offer was not the only reason why I chose UCLA. Also, I thought the campus is the most beautiful I've seen in the US. And as Nicole already mentioned, the course variety is insane. There's so many things you can choose from, so many different courses and interesting professors to meet and people to meet. And that was also one of the reasons why I chose that program. And also because the class is quite large. I think in my year, I graduated in 24. Um, I think we were like about 220 LLM students. And so I still met new people on my last day in the program, and I think that was amazing.
Um, I'm pretty similar in that I have a romantic notion of Southern California. And I think there's no reason not to. If you've ever been to LA, you'll find it's quite a great lifestyle. But one of the main reasons that I came to UCLA and wanted to do an LLM in particular was because I wanted to find a specialization that matched my passion and my interests. And the specialization I'm doing here is the media, entertainment, technology, and sports law and policy specialization. And you'll find if you come and study it here, it's a real unique area of law, in that you won't find many schools across the world that combine those disciplines. And given UCLA's location in the home of Hollywood, it's naturally number one in entertainment schools across the globe, I think, on pretty much a yearly basis. So they have an amazing faculty in that area of law. It's named after a famous professor named Ken Ziffrin, who's a former film czar in LA, with various faculty who work in the industry, be it in-house counsel at Hollywood studios or former litigators who've worked with technology companies and intellectual property lawsuits. So you'll find people who really understand that field of law incredibly well, if that's something that interests you. And that was my main purpose in coming to UCLA. But then, of course, you've got such a beautiful campus and a great location within the city of LA. So it's a real exciting place to come and study. So yeah, that's what attracted me to the LLM.
Hi everyone. So I would start by saying I found myself in LA first for personal reasons, and I always know that I wanted to get my master's degree and maybe in the future go into academia more. So I always know this path is something I am interested in. UCLA was one of the best option I had. Also, the program that I was interested in, human rights, when I started studying it or researching it before I started, was a really comprehensive program. It has a lot of the uh, classes that I was interested in. The professors were very um, uh, impressive. Also, I think coming from very specific judicial system. I studied law in Saudi Arabia, which is Sharia and civil law based. I was so interested in getting to know that very different comparative lens, especially in the US, which is like common law. So UCLA definitely offered all of that. Most of that, more than that, is the campus, the involvement in everyday life with the student. I went to my first Dodger games with UCLA. I went to my first court with UCLA. So yeah, definitely the involvement with the student on a daily basis was something really, really helpful, especially for someone from a very different judicial system. And the help that you would get and the resources was something very valuable. And I still appreciate it to this day, even after graduation. I can reach to my professors or any mentor that I've had in law school.
Great, thanks. Mentioning resources, that brings me to my next question, but what resources did you rely on when it came to your LLM search, when it came to the application process? What did you rely on to help you navigate that? And is there any kind of resource or platform that you would recommend to the people that have joined us here today as they go about their journey from considering the LLM to actually applying to getting admitted?
I think I don't know if this is very helpful, but I mainly use the German site, which is called LLM Essentials, and they have like many like yeah people who talk about their LLMs and like webinars like this today, and so you have you get in touch with a lot of people who did the same thing before, and they also give you advice on how to apply. And then I applied through, I don't recall the page that it's called, like this internet page that's like collects all your data and everything. I only remember it was very complicated and very annoying because but that's a German thing, because like in Germany all the law schools take forever to send your transcripts and stuff. And so yeah, that was actually quite tough. um so yeah, in terms of resources in to choose your LLM, I can't really help, I think, unless you're German.
The best thing I did, I feel, was I looked at three schools were kind of top of my list in California, and what I did was I went onto their website and looked through all the course catalogs for the LLMs that they offered, and I knew I wanted to specialize in technology, intellectual property, and entertainment law. So I was looking for course catalogs that would match that specialization. So ones that kind of gave a various enough course offering that you could find things that kind of really unique and fitted what you wanted, as opposed to you going to a school and then suddenly trying to figure out, was there something there for you that particularly was part of your passion. So the best thing if you're interested in UCLA, I think, to do is to go onto the UCLA LLM website. This is a specific website for the masters, and you can go through the various courses that are being offered in the 25-26 academic year. And most of those will probably carry over to the following academic year. There might be some new offerings as well. And you can read the kind of the course content, who the professor is, look them up, and kind of almost build a mock schedule for yourself and see, is that something I'd really want to dedicate a year to do, and do that for your different choice of schools. And then out of those choice of schools, you can kind of see which is the best fit for you then.
Yeah, I would say the same point that Ethan mentioned. Definitely the website. I remember the time when I was applying that I always knew that I wanted to do human rights, but before starting the program, I already knew what classes I wanted to go to, who professor I'm interested to meet, everything, because I spent so much time on that website and I got to study exactly what's my plan going to be in this very short academic year. So even the time that you're going to put in researching this program and eventually going to UCLA, that will be in your benefit, that you will have that perspective of the whole year plan. You will remember which classes you are most interested in. So definitely the LLM website is very, very important. And I remember a lot of my classes were talking about a Facebook page for LLMs that they got to connect with each other before starting the program, and they got to share all of their questions and concerns. So I don't know, I wasn't a part of it, but I knew that a lot of people got help through that group. And I don't know if I should say this, but my unofficial source is Reddit. I got to know a lot about UCLA and LA through Reddit. So yeah, that helped me a lot, gave me a lot of perspective from student point of view.
I love that. Reddit is an excellent source of all information. Just on France's point, we accept our applications through the LSAC website, which stands for Law Schools Admission Council. It is a very user-unfriendly website as they go. So I can see why he said it was a complex process. And one of the things that he was mentioning is your school is going to have to mail your transcript directly to LSAC. So it's not just a matter of uploading a digital copy, and that can take the longest time in the application process. So my advice, if anyone wants to start the LLM in 2026, even if you haven't got your CV or your references or written your personal statement or taken the TOEFL exam, is to go onto the LSAC website and start by requesting your transcripts so that they're at least on the way in the mail, headed to LSAC while you're collecting your other documents. Our application deadline is February 1st. I probably could have mentioned that earlier. That's a helpful deadline. So all application documents must be submitted by February 1st. And the other thing that Ethan and Afra were mentioning, looking at the course choices, that was also something I did. I spent hours on Googling UCLA Law, advanced course schedule, and looking at all the classes. It was definitely what made UCLA stand out for me. Okay, so something that people are going to think about, and everyone has a different solution to, is housing. So UCLA does have some graduate student housing. We do offer it through a lottery system, but many people, because there are so many graduate students, sorry, here my cat's joining us. Because there's so many graduate students at UCLA and not much housing, many people have to come up with different solutions. So I'm wondering if our panelists can share on, did you get graduate housing? If not, where did you live? How did you go about finding that? Did you have roommates? What was that experience like? And what advice you would have for someone looking for a place to stay in LA during their LLM?
Yeah, actually, housing was one of my biggest concerns before coming to LA because I found it so stressful to find a place to stay at the other end of the world when you're not there. But I was lucky and I got in touch with Alumni beforehand and got to know the co-op, which is a private housing facility, I'd say. You share a room usually with one or two people, and you also have to do chores, basically. You have to work in the kitchens once a week for, I think, 2 hours or 3 or something. Um, these are the downsides. The upside is it's very, very, very cheap. I think I paid like $650 a month for my room and food, which is breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of the week. And that's definitely, from a price perspective, unbeatable. But of course, it's not very luxury. You, I don't know. It's just not very. It's not new. It's pretty old and like rugged and everything. But you meet nice people as well. It's very close to campus, and it's again very, very cheap. And so yeah, that's where I stayed.
I was lucky enough to get the graduate housing in Weyburn Terrace, which is right around the corner from UCLA. And there's actually a good few LLMs who were fortunate to get the graduate housing this year. So there's always a chance that you'll get that. So I definitely applied to the graduate housing. And then there's lots of housing in Westwood, which is the village that or the neighborhood that UCLA is set in, and it's all university-oriented housing for undergraduates and graduates. So there are plenty of private accommodation options, and if you start your search early, you'll find that you can get some deals on some things. LA as a city can be expensive to live in, but if you manage to find somebody to share with or somewhere that is kind of more on the student budget side, you should do fine.
Yeah, I wish I could help on this. To be honest, my circumstances were different. I had an apartment and I had a way of transportation, so I didn't really got involved in this process. But I remember a lot of my LLM friends, um, things that they struggled with in this, which is make sure you like your roommate, to be honest. Make sure you have a lot of things in common, and also don't rush into that. You can wait until the first 2 or 3 weeks of the program until you meet someone with the program. A lot of people actually had roommates within the first month, not immediately when they moved to LA. Yeah, find somewhere close to the campus. Transportation can be very hectic, especially on rush hours. But yeah, this is the thing that I have on my mind.
Great,
Just one
thanks.
more thing I think I'd like to share is a few of my friends who didn't stay at the co-op also arrived in LA without any housing, just with like an Airbnb or hotel, stayed there for in LA for like 2 or 3 weeks and started their search there. And I think that also helped. It was easier to find something on the spot than online from abroad.
Yeah, that's good advice. I also lived in the co-op when I was a student, so it's chaotic, but it's good fun. And the thing that is hard to know about LA until you get here is how quickly the rental market moves. Like you can view an apartment on Friday, apply over the weekend, and then know by like Monday or Tuesday whether you have it, and then like move in later that week. So that's why it is actually possible to arrive, meet some people in class, stay in an Airbnb, find someone who you have a good connection with, and then lease an apartment, especially if you're sitting and waiting to hear if you got into the graduate student housing. I'm so impressed that Ethan has a spot there. That's amazing. Okay, so moving on. We'll talk a little bit more about academics. And it's great we have like a real spread of different legal systems and education here. Is how your experience learning at UCLA, so the legal studies, what happens in the classroom, how does that compare to your legal education in your home country before you came to UCLA? So any similarities, any differences, anything about the learning experience that was surprising?
I was very surprised by how like personal the contact with the professors was, because in Germany it's pretty distant. You have huge classrooms of like 500 people, and then you have the professor tell you what you have to know, and I don't know, then you study it and then you write an exam. And at UCLA, you're very close with your professors. They, at least for me, they took the time to explain if I didn't understand things. Yeah, it's just very much more personal, I felt like. but then also it's pretty demanding because they expect you to work a lot and to know a lot at some point. So you do have a lot of homework, and if you don't do it, it's not very good. If you come unprepared to class, it's usually not great to be in the spot of being asked this case went, and you can tell it. Um, but yeah, so for me, generally, I would say all the professors were very, very, very friendly and very helpful and available basically at all times, which is also very different to Germany.
I definitely agree with Franz. Ireland, where I'm from, was the same. You have huge lecture halls of 500 students clamoring to kind of hear what's being said at the front of the room. Whereas here, you've got much smaller groups with really accomplished professors who will kind of guide you through it step by step. So you're really fortunate in that you get to build a relationship with esteemed academics or practitioners in their field. And then, as Nicole mentioned, the offering is so large. So I think somebody would struggle to not find a course that matched their interests. And I mean, you can balance your workload in terms of how intense you want to make the LLM. You have some people who might take 4 classes that really interest them, and they'll be fine with that. You have some people who might do 17 units, which is the maximum course load, and want to pack a lot into each semester. But there's definitely a work-life balance for everyone that you can make to suit your lifestyle and that'll yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the amount of reading that you have to do for every class, for every case, which can be a lot to, adjust to, but once you get the heck of it, it's gonna be much easier. You have to come to class pretty much already know what's you gonna learn, which is, I think, very different from the way schools works in Saudi. It's very, very different where we basically just go and listen and ask about any question that we have in the class. So that's something you would get to use to pretty quickly. The deadlines, I would say, there's a lot of deadlines, especially in the first semester. You have to keep up with all the deadlines, with all the submission. What else? I would say one very special thing about UCLA or the legal academic in the US in general is the seminar. You have to take one seminar. It was a new concept for me, the seminars, and I pretty much enjoyed them more than any class. Seminar are pretty much a very niche subject of law that you would discuss in a very open or engaged seating with your professor. It's mostly discussions. You would end up writing a paper. I took one seminar with Professor Jess Peak about human rights and, war crime and war crimes and digital investigations. And it is by far the highlight of my academic year with UCLA. So because of that seminar, I started to take more seminars because I really, really enjoyed, and you would build this very unique communication and connection to your professor. So if you like a certain professor and you would get to know them more, I would say sign up for their seminars. Even it's a chance for them to get to know you more, and you get to discuss anything that you're interested in. So yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, 100%. That the seminars were the best. It's very demanding, I think, because you have many deadlines and many little things you have to hand in. But it was absolutely worth it, 100%.
Great. Thanks so much for reflecting on that. I think, Franz, you said you did a simulation class as well. I wonder if you
Yeah,
could.
that's what I meant.
Okay, so
Sorry.
Alfred's talking seminars, which are classes where you write academic papers, and France did a simulation style class, which was like a skills-based, intensive, show you how to do something that lawyers do, and like the best lawyers in the world are American, unfortunately, for the rest of us. So like acquiring those US legal skills is really something not an opportunity not to miss. So Ethan, you're still in your first semester now. I'm wondering if any of your academic experiences are particularly standing out as like maybe a favorite course or something really special, since France and Afra have both shared like their favorite experiences within the LLM.
Yeah, there's two classes that are taught by the same professor, Professor Lippman, who runs the intellectual property classes at UCLA Law, and he's a very accomplished former practitioner who's litigated landmark copyright and patent cases against YouTube and other big name corporations. And I study intellectual property with him in the morning and then go straight to a seminar on telecommunications regulation for an hour after that. And they're such interesting topics, but they're also taught in such an engaging way. And that telecommunications seminar has maybe 18 students in it, but he really takes the time to break down what is a very niche area of law and make it incredibly engaging. So it's an area that's very topical at the moment, that looks at last week FCC approval of mergers, and that has been involved in cancelling of late night talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel, etc. So there's definitely a lot of topical issues that will be brought into your classes by some of these professors, and that makes it very engaging. And what's even more exciting is that these professors might know people involved in the litigation, or you'll, like in our copyright section and intellectual property, we'll be going through landmark cases, and you'll say, I litigated this case and this is why they ruled against us in this issue. And that is really exciting when you can actually talk to the person who did that case that is in your casebook. So that's one of the highlights of the academic courses that I've taken so far.
Awesome. Okay, so the great thing about UCLA is it's not just study, study, study. There's a lot of other things going on. And so I'd like to ask the panelists to reflect on any extracurricular activities you did within the law school, so any law societies or pro bono or anything like that, as well as extracurricular activities outside of the law school. What kind of things did you do on the weekends with your friends during the holidays, that kind of thing. So both legal and not legal things outside of the classroom.
Outside of the classroom, I think I didn't do many things that had to do anything with legal because I think I had enough from my classes. But other extracurricular activities for me were the intramural league, which is like a football league, soccer league within UCLA, I think. And we had a law school team and it was much fun. And I think we played every Wednesday night or something against some random other people from another school. That was much fun. And then also, of course, there were how was it called again?
Bar review.
Like evening, sorry, bar review. Yeah, that's it. Just like, I think once a week, the students from the law school meet and check out another bar from around the city. So you get to know the city and you also get to know other people from within the law school. And yeah, that was also much fun. What did I do on the weekends? If there was football from UCLA, I went to the football games. And otherwise, I don't know, other things within the city. Like I went to many museums. I went to many different bars and cafes, and there's so much. I think you can you've never seen everything in LA. And then also I went to travel a lot, which was also fun. And also, so I went to just different places within California, but also outside of California. And so I would definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah, I'd agree with Franz. There wasn't much legal studies happening a lot outside the classroom sometimes. That one of the
Don't lie, you just wrote a competition paper for fun.
That's true. But outside of that, there's probably no better place to be to have the kind of lifestyle you will have in Southern California. There's literally no end to the things you can do. I mean, UCLA is about 30 minutes away from Santa Monica and Venice Beach, 45 minutes from Malibu, and then the other direction is 20 minutes to Beverly Hills and 30 minutes to Hollywood. So there's no end of things to do. There's always a concert every weekend. There's football games. There's a basketball team at UCLA that's pretty good that you can go and watch on weekdays. So there's just so much going on every week, and the LLM as a group are, as I gather, always pretty social every year. And I think within the first 2 weeks, people have made a lot of social connections and are going to do a lot of different activities together. So it's a very fun year.
Yeah, I think there's too much going on to the extent where okay, I have a program to finish. So I remember I signed up for a belly dance class from UCLA. I really enjoyed that. I wasn't really a participant in the bar review a lot. It was always like loud and people were drinking sometimes too much. So I wanted more connection that where I can actually get to know the people. So I preferred other kind of gatherings within the LLM, whether official or unofficial. There's community for everything. Just you name the things that you like and research it, and you will find a community for that, whether it's board games or any kind of sport or movies. There's a chat group this year. I'm still involved with the LLM, even I graduated, for films where they decide to go and watch a movie together. Also, I would say don't just think about LA, think about California in general. Go see the Yosemite National Park, Big Bear, any other parts of California. I think it can offer much more, I don't know, different vibes than just the city life. Also, I don't know if you're thinking about partying for specific reasons. Las Vegas is also very close. San Diego, like there's so much and so many things. As long as you find a group, or even by yourself, to be honest, going to a museum or anything, there's too much. So that kind of thing shouldn't be a concern at all for any of you. And definitely the LLM class every year take the initiative to invite everyone and connect with everyone and break the bridges and break the ice. So I would say just, oh, one important thing. Also, the music scene and concerts are above and beyond. Yeah, like all of the artists that you like, you will find a concert for them here on the year that you're studying. Even people or artists from your own country or your own community, you might find a concert happening here in LA. So keep an eye on that if you're interested in that. And yeah, just research what you're gonna do every week, and then you have too many options.
Wonderful. Okay, so I've got my eye on the clock, and it's probably a good idea if we start doing some of these questions. I can say we had a little pre-chat before the webinar started, and I know that no one in this room has sat a US bar exam, although Afra and Franz prepared to do so. Afra's is coming up in February, and I think Ethan is also preparing to take a bar exam. So we don't have any insight on what it's like to take a bar exam, since none of us have done it. So we'll just skip on over that, and head into the questions.
Perfect. Hi again, and thank you so much for the really interesting testimonials and, of course, about all the information that we received today. Yes, we have so many questions actually, so we can start with the first one. that could be, what is the most important piece of advice you have for an applicant from a civil law jurisdiction?
So for me, I think I'd say still one single piece of advice that's very important. Um, it's kind of weird to get into this like thought that a case is the law, which is like, I don't know, if you come from a civil law background, it's kind of odd because you think like where's the rule, like it has to stand somewhere. It's never standing out like this is the rule. But your professors are able to guide you through the process of understanding how the common law works. And I think what was very surprising for me was that at the end of the day, the common law jurisdiction gets to the same results basically that we get to just through another way. And yeah, I think you wouldn't have to worry about that. I think it's all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And another
Did you
question.
want to add something? Sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
sorry.
civil law.
Just to say that for the first 2 weeks of your first semester, there's a specific course called US Law and Global Contexts, where they go through the differences between civil law and common law and try and integrate you into that new system. And that's specifically for LLMs.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And a question that could be addressed to specifically to maybe Franz and Afra is it difficult for those who aren't native English speakers?
I think I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, of course it's difficult first because you are getting in touch with many new vocabulary that you didn't know before. And I remember myself looking up words sometimes and not understanding it, but your professors are very understanding of that. And if you don't understand the context of a certain word or something or of a phrase, then you can just ask and usually they would try to explain. And if you're still not getting it, then they might ask you to join them after class and they will take the time to explain it to you personally again. So I'd say if you can like generally read and write in English, you're gonna be okay. I think this like 90 that UCLA requires on the TOEFL is probably a good benchmark. If you reach that, then you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah, I would say it can be a bit challenging at first, especially in like academic setting. There's a lot of very American legal, I would say, terminology that you will try and search within in the lecture or keep up with. So well, it can be a bit overwhelming, but there's a lot of resources from UCLA. I remember in my case, even though I find myself having an okay English, I signed up for I forgot the name of the program. Maybe you can remind me, Nicole. But it's this intensive.
Yeah, the legal communication intensive in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just for the language. I wanted to break the fear of going to US law school. It's 1 year, 1 month program. I got to, I already studied constitutional law there, so I was already had two grades on my, 2 points on my grade before starting the official program, and I already know the constitutional law, and my English was way, 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 way better because of just 1 month program. Also, I signed up for Nicole English Club, where we just students from everyone from all around the world meet up for coffee and talk about different things. I remember like Nicole was asking us what language do you dream of and or use in or I don't know how to again English. So it's fine to even after graduating you will struggle to express yourself sometimes, but that's absolutely fine. You will find a way to remember what you should say and how to use your words. So don't worry about that. It's gonna be easier than you think. And if I have any advice on that is try not to make your friends only people from your country or people who share the same language. If you want to practice more, this is a thing that I noticed a lot in LLM, and even when I met LLM from previous years who shared the same thing, people find themselves with people from the same country because it's easier. You find yourself challenged in the classroom and the reading, and you just want to talk in your native language. I would say challenge yourself more and try to talk to people from in different language. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And the same student, actually, Lucrezia from Italy, is asking, as for the specialization or master's degree, are there exams at the end? I didn't understand how the specialization takes place.
Yeah, I can address that quickly. So for the specialization of the 4 classes that you take, they'll have different assessments. So for example, Ethan is doing the Met specialization. He has to do entertainment law, which finishes with an exam, IP, copyright, or trademark. And I know he's not taking IP this semester because he's in this Zoom meeting, and IP usually meets at this time of day. So he'll take one of those classes, and that'll be an exam. He said he was doing telecommunications. That's assessed through papers. France did one of the simulations, and that is assessed on your engagement with the coursework and doing the activities and the exercises. So they have different forms of assessment based on the kind of class. And for the specialization, you need to have done those 4 courses, as well as meeting the GPA requirement of 2.7. So if you hit that 2.7 and you've taken the classes, then that's how you get the specialization. And I've seen like a couple other questions about some specialization stuff, so I'll mention that as well. If you want to specialize and you still want to take other subjects outside of that field of interest, it is possible, so long as you are just doing one specialization and you're not trying to do bar courses. So if you're taking, say, the specialization in international comparative law like Afra did, and you want to take some business law classes or some tax classes or some media classes, then that's probably about all that you can do. I know Afra did the 2 different specializations together because they speak to each other really well, so that's also a possibility to do 2. And I see a question about criminal law, and obviously I left it off of my slide, but we do have a criminal law and policy specialization that came in either last year or this year, so I need to make sure that that's on my slide, but that is one of the areas we have a specialization in.
Thank you. This would be my next question, of course. So thank you so much. And do you want to make a quick recap about the English certificate? Because I see some questions about it.
Yeah, so we require TOEFL or IELTS in the event that the primary language of your legal education is not English. So I know like certain countries, for example, like Nigeria, South Africa, our legal education takes place in English. I know that there's a school in Spain, IE, that teaches law in English, so it might be that you're not a first language speaker, but that your legal education has taken place in English. Then you don't need IELTS or TOEFL. We will waive that. So for example, Ethan studied in Ireland or the UK, not sure, one of the 2, and so he didn't need to do TOEFL or have an IELTS score. So that's it, depending on whether your degree was taught in English or not, then we may or may not need the TOEFL. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remembered something that might be very helpful for prospective students who are listening, which is the accommodation for language and the exam. If they have any concern about the time, okay, I know English, but I'm very slow in typing, whatever. If your mother language is not English or you didn't study in English, sorry, you would get 20 extra minutes for every hour in every exam. So if it's a 3-hour exam, you would take 4, and that would be automatically, you don't need even to apply for it. So, and it's amazing. It's enough time to finish most of your exams. So if you're worried about that and you think you're just a bit slower, don't worry. The exam, not paper, but exam definitely applies the language accommodation.
Thank you so much. And when do admitted students usually receive information about scholarships and fellowship decisions?
Yeah, so our application deadline is February 1st, and our decisions start coming out later that month. They're rolling through mid-February all the way to mid to late April. And you'll receive your decision all in one. So the letter that you receive will say like you've been accepted, and if you've been given an award under the Dean's Tuition Fellowship, that will be included in your acceptance letter. So it might be mid-February, it could be any time in the month of March, it could go into April, but the decisions are rolling from the point after the deadline, from after the February 1st deadline.
Thank you so much. And I see a question from Richard that is asking, who can give the reference? Must it necessarily be from an academic reference or the head of chambers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are happy to take both academic and professional references. My advice is always to make sure that the person who writes your reference really knows you well. So if you've been in practice for 10 years, and it's been a long time since you went to university, your academic references don't really know you anymore, and they might not have as much to say about you as a professional reference would, versus if you're just finishing your law degree and you've just been in academia, you don't necessarily have professional references in the legal field yet. So you just want to make sure that those references are from the legal field, whether it be academia or professional.
Thank you so much. And a question for the students, for the LLM alumni on the panel. What was the single biggest factor that led you to choose UCLA Law over other top LLM programs? And how did that choice impact your career immediately after graduation?
So for me, I also got accepted at Berkeley and at Stanford, but I chose UCLA because at the end of the day of finances, because I wouldn't have received any scholarships from the other schools. And it is very expensive to do an LLM in the United States. And UCLA is also a top law school. So I didn't see any downside to choosing UCLA over the other schools. And so, yeah, then I went for the best offer from a financial point of view.
Obviously, I haven't graduated from the LLM yet, but the main reason that I chose UCLA was, as I mentioned, because of the specialization they offered. I looked at the other schools in California, and they don't have that same combination of media and same technology. So that was the main attraction for me, apart from the fact that UCLA is a great university and a great location.
Yeah, to be honest, my situation is a bit different. I was already here. I couldn't really go to any other state for different reason, personal reason. So my choice was between UCLA and USC, and both are great schools. UCLA just offered the program that I wanted the most, and in general, to be honest, even if I didn't have these two limited options, I would still choose UCLA. Looking back to it, the program is amazing, and the involvement from the professors, and especially for anyone here listening and interested in human rights or international law in general, the Promise Institute itself can offer a lot of things, whether in the student committee or the panels or the resources or the cases or the research they work on, just much more involved in the real human rights cases and struggle on a global basis. So that's were my reasons.
Thank you so much. And another question is, if a student has a GPA around 6.57 on a 10-point scale, could a strong overall profile such as relevant experience, motivation, and extracurricular achievements compensate for it in the admission process?
Yeah. Caroline, I just wanted to mention it's 10:30 right now.
Yeah, we can take the last one if you want, and then we
Yeah,
can.
so I'm happy to stay on for an extra 10 or 15 minutes. I see a lot of these questions are going to be
Of course.
administrative and specifically that I can answer, but I just want to let my panelists go because I know Afra and Franz have Franz has to go to bed because he's in Germany, but Afra has her work day to get to, and I'm sure Ethan has class soon. So if I can let the three of you go and say thank you so much. Franz and Afra, it's great to see you again. Ethan, I'll see you later today. But thanks so much for sharing with us. And if you can stay on and you want to, you're welcome to, but I'm sure you have things to get to if you'd like to sign off while I get through some of these more administrative application style questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invite. And if there's anything else, you can reach out to me. And yeah, see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole and Carolina. Same thing, you can reach via LinkedIn. I'm also gonna leave my email here. If you have any question, please feel free to email me or message me. I would really love to help any of you. Thank you.
And the same goes for me as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank
now
you.
I can answer this question.
Yeah,
I don't
thanks.
I know I can do this for hours, but I don't want to trap people that need to go to work. So when we look at your application, we're going to look at you holistically. So if the only thing you have are grades, that's the only thing that we can look at. But if you have work experience or if you've even experience during university, like in student organizations, doing pro bono work, volunteer work, whatever kind of legal experience that you have, we're going to look at. So if you wrote opinion news articles about legal cases in your country for local news media, that's something we can consider. If you wrote any journal articles, that's something we can consider. We will look at everything. So the more involved you were during your undergrad with the legal community broadly, whether it be through volunteer work or writing or doing internships or anything like that, that gives us more to look at. So yes, that is something that we can consider. Like, for example, I was a pretty average law student. I didn't have amazing grades, but I was in student governance and leadership when it came to volunteer programs, and I had publications, like I'd written on certain areas of law. And so those were kinds of things that they could take into account when they considered my application, even though like my LLB grades were just kind of average.
Perfect, amazing, thank you. And I see another question about the courses. Do you have any specific financial or commercial law courses?
Yeah, we have plenty. We have classes on securities regulation. Business associations is really popular in terms of just general commercial law classes. But considering that we have like over 200, it's hard for me to list them all. There are a lot. I can assure you of that.
Amazing, thank you. And how flexible is a LLM curriculum for students who wish to pursue a general LLM but still want to take a few courses outside of their primary interest area?
If you come in and do the general LLM, literally you have complete freedom. So Ethan mentioned the 2-week course that we do, our orientation course at the beginning of the year. That is the only mandatory course that we have that everyone who doesn't have a US law degree has to do. But after that, if you come in and do general LLM, like you have complete freedom from all the courses. So you can do one commercial law class and something in criminal law, and you can take an entertainment law class, and you can do a clinical course like working with immigration law, and like there's no restrictions. When you add a specialization, that starts to determine half your curriculum. So one specialization is only half a curriculum. So if you do that one specialization and you want to take other courses in different areas, you can do that. Or you can do the specialization plus the New York bar courses. There are 5, so that is half a degree. California is not the same. It's only one class. So I'm like, I love California for that reason. It gives you more freedom during your LLM to take more interesting courses because the bar courses aren't very interesting, I'm afraid to say. But yeah, coming in at general LLM, you have total freedom. It can be overwhelming to have to choose from 200 courses. So sometimes the specialization gives you like a little bit of a narrowing.
Thank you. Perfect. And you also offer PhD programs. And is it possible to apply for the LLM after having completed a PhD?
So we have an SJD program, which is the equivalent of a PhD in law in the United States. In order to do an SJD, you do need to already have an LLM degree. So you would need to do the LLM first before going on to do an SJD. Something else with the SJD, we do require proof of publication. So either peer-reviewed journal articles or like sustained arguments. So some public communications are also things that we can consider. But the SJD program, and we only take 2 SJD students a year, so it's a very small program, is very much geared towards people who are looking to build a long-term academic career and have some demonstrated background in academia. Whereas the LLM, you can do the LLM degree after doing a PhD at home. So that's something different, completely different. If you've done your PhD at home, you can come and do the LLM after that. In my academic year, one of my friends was doing her PhD in Brazil at the same time as she was doing the LLM, like she was trying to finish her thesis while doing the LLM. So she was a pretty impressive person. She still is. So yeah, that's my spiel on PhDs.
Amazing. Thank you. And you also offer courses in commercial law and taxation.
Yes. So one of our specializations within the realm of business law, we have 4 different specializations, which is general business, tax. There's one in securities regulation and one in bankruptcy. So that specialization under the business law world in taxation would involve commercial law classes and a lot of tax courses.
Amazing. And I see the last question here that is about the I think that is the structure of the master's. It's by research or a taught program.
Yeah. So the LLM is exclusively by coursework through your classes. There is no thesis requirement. So it is possible for students who are interested in writing a longer piece of academic work to do an independent research paper with one of our faculty. But that's very uncommon. Most people are coming in to do the coursework. So it is more, in terms of master's degrees, it is more of a professional leaning degree than a strict thesis research degree. And I think that that's what serves our student population. Not a lot of people want to write a thesis.
Thank you so much for your kindness. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box. So also thank you for all your questions to all of you connected today. I've just shared in the chat the possibility to click on the link and get the certificate for today's masterclass. And also I would like to remind you that this webinar is recorded. So tomorrow you will receive an email with all the contacts from UCLA. So if you have any other questions or any specific needs, you can reach out to them and ask all the questions you need. And also you can rewatch this webinar that will be posting on YouTube. So thank you so much for participating today. Thank you for the email that I'm sharing with the students, of course. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again, of course, in the next webinar organized by WeUni. So have a nice rest of the day. And thank you, Nicole, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.